So we are thrilled to be here with Glyn and Sophia Barrett, who are, as I think many people will know, the pastors of Audacious Church, which is by far the largest church in Manchester and one of the largest churches in the UK. And not only is it large, it is absolutely amazing, dynamic, inspiring church. And they've planted churches in a number of different cities across the UK. And Glyn is also the national, I think it's called the national leader of the Assemblies of God, which is over 500 churches across the UK. So they have very busy lives, and we're thrilled that they have given this time to talk to us. So first of all, Pips, over to you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. You inspire us in every possible way. We would love to hear a little bit about your background, where you, Sophie, where you grew up, and a little bit about your home and parents, etc.
Great. Well, I'm Australian by birth, but Chilean by descent, and British by choice. So
wow.
That's right. So we're a mix, really. Glyn's parents are from Wales, and he grew up.
I was born in Manchester, but my family moved to Australia when I was 2. So I'm Australian, English born, Welsh parents, which means that in rugby union, I could have played for 3 countries, actually. I had the pick of the bunch. And then both our kids were born in Yorkshire, and we've been in Manchester now for 13 years.
And Sophie, did you grow up in a Christian home?
No, I didn't. So my parents were Catholics by just, by tradition, really. But I was actually brought up to believe that God, if he was real, was not in the church. So, my family were very much, go where Eastern philosophy, go wherever, they think something is happening. As a 15-year-old, I developed this notion that if something was true, then it had to be true 100% and not just the bits that I liked and leave the bits that I don't. And so when Jesus got a hold of my heart, which was crazy because it was in a dusty old school hall, and this was their second service ever. And my family rock up, and I'm dying because I'm 16 years of age, and I'm thinking this is the most horrible, terrible situation to be in, and I just want to be out. And then heard the gospel almost like it was the first time, and that's when I gave my heart to God. So I remember walking out of that school hall, looking at my mother and saying, now I know why I'm here. Now I know what my purpose is.
Me.
I haven't looked back. That's pretty much
look back. Yes.
Stay.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
A very good book that you wrote. And Sid, will you talk a little bit about that and, the whole thing with insomnia?
If you can think about this for a moment, that when we came to Manchester, I thought, this is it. Everything that I had seen as a teenager, this is now the fulfillment of it. And then 2 years in, I was totally floored, because one night I just stopped sleeping. And so it was one of those things where you couldn't put your finger on why this could be happening, because we were growing church, we were loving what we were doing. And really, I thought life is good. This is the fulfillment of promise. I could not understand why all of a sudden I was struggling to sleep. And it just kept going and going and going until I thought I was going insane. And I guess a friend of mine said to me, number one, 2 things changed my perception about going through this chronic sleeplessness like I was. My friend said to me, I think God is in this. And I went, okay, if he's in it, then I'm okay, I'm safe, even though this is rubbish and I wish I wasn't going through this. And the second thing, another friend of mine said, he said, Soph, you're mentally exhausted. Your brain is heading towards burnout. And it would also cause me to shake during the day for, no reason whatsoever. So I embarked on a journey, and my friend said to me, one of the things that you're going to need to do is you're going to have to learn how to meditate in God's presence. And so Stay, the book Stay, is about my journey in finding healing and wholeness through prolonged periods of time meditating in God's presence. It became a discipline that I needed to go on, and it was completely transformative. So the book is my encouragement, not just to people who are going through a storm where it doesn't seem to end, but also discovering this ancient, this biblical discipline that God talks about right through the Bible, of meditation, of contemplation, of, fixing our eyes on Jesus and actually finding incredible transformation. I think it's John 15 where it says, remain in me and I will remain in you. Without me, you can do nothing. I think I read that and thought, yeah, that's lovely. But it wasn't until I was going through this season of my life where I had to get into God's presence and stay there and let his strength be my strength, because I didn't have any strength left, that I fully, I think, understood that scripture.
That's amazing. Thank you. That's particularly in this season. And what do you feel is going on in Manchester and the churches you're around? What are you seeing or feeling?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that we've really been speaking to our church through the whole pandemic and through all the lockdowns is really the whole narrative of faith over fear. Because I think what we're seeing left, right, and center through media, through social media, and everything at large, all we're hearing daily is death statistics, new cases, new variants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the result of that is just a genuine sense of fear within people. And we have, through the whole process, really been encouraging the church on what faith looks like, that we should be looking at the statistics, looking at what's real, but still making faith-based decisions in response to really what God is speaking to us about. I think one of our challenges is we can tend to minimize what God says because of circumstances that we observe with the naked eye. But faith actually rises up above that. It's like with Gehazi, it says, open the eyes of my servant, that he will see and that he will know that greater are those that are for us than those that are against us. So really, week in, week out, we have been weaving the narrative continually about faith, practical faith, just enough faith for today. Forget about tomorrow, just enough faith to get out of bed today, just enough faith to homeschool the kids today, just enough faith to believe that we can pay the bills today, just enough faith. And it's been amazing to see people walk the journey. Our Alpha Online has gone absolutely crazy during lockdown. Incredible. Incredible.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing to see how many people are signing up for Alpha Online.
Wow.
So it's a real indication that people are open in perhaps in a way that they weren't before.
So,
wow.
And we've just done a baptism of a young guy who's a doctor of philosophy and did his PhD, his thesis, proving that Jesus doesn't exist, that Christianity can't be true. And during lockdown, during the whole journey of Alpha Church Online, got radically saved. And 2 Sundays ago, we actually had a baptismal service.
Nice.
And he was the first one in the pool.
Wow.
Brilliant.
He got saved.
And your church, is renowned also for being out, not only being in the building, having lots of people there, but what you're doing out in the community is extraordinary. And would you say a little bit about that?
I think our focus is, as always, and for all of us as, in the church, is to be the expression of Jesus in the community. Always we want to help those in need, and we want to, just bless our community in any way that we can. I think that's unchanged. But what COVID has given us is that it's given us incredible opportunity to perhaps go to another level.
I know you've also found time, although you've got all these people, you've got like 4,000 members of the church, you're planting churches, you're running 500 churches, you're doing all these social action projects, but you've also found time to celebrate.
This is, my encounter with God when I was 12, because my whole understanding of the church world that I was brought up in was you're more known for what you can't do than what you can do.
Yeah.
And so when I read Galatians 5:1 as a 12-year-old, it was freedom in Christ to set you free. And John chapter 10, verse 10, and even this morning in my quiet time in Zechariah chapter 8, the Lord is talking about how he's renewed his covenant with Jerusalem, and Jerusalem will be a place where the old men and women will be in the streets with their canes talking. And it says, and the children will be playing in the streets. Mm-hmm. I just think the first miracle of Jesus is turning water into wine at a party. What would it look like for the gospel to be presented in central Manchester in a way that looks like it's enjoyable?
It's so exciting to see thousands of young people piling into your church every Sunday. Jesus is alive. All these young people in Manchester, what are the questions that they're asking?
Oh, that's great. The questions are what you would expect, really. About 18 months ago, I did a questionnaire to 280 or thereabouts high school students in Oldham in Manchester, helping to understand people's worldview. And this was a church school, actually, and it was quite incredible to see how they answered these 7 questions and how their worldview was formed. And genuinely, people are living in a world where God is not a reality. And so if God is not a reality, then there's no morality of right and wrong beyond what the media is saying today. And so, a lot of the questions are, what's truth? Pilate said the same thing. What is truth? And I think that the biggest question our young people are asking is what is truth? Surely I can do what I want to do because my truth is different to yours. And I think social media peddles that as well. Mm-hmm. Social media creates the soapboxes for people to share what they want, and the algorithms behind it then support the stuff that they believe. And so there's no opportunity for ideological or philosophical conversation to be had. And so people are coming into church and are finding that there's space to actually ask the questions and have dialogue, whereby that space is not really afforded to them in the public space. And so really it's questions to do with that. They're the biggest things.
Well, we are inspired by you, aren't we?
Definitely.
You are such an inspiring couple, and what you've achieved in Manchester and with your church plants around the country, and with all those Assemblies of God churches, such hope. I think sometimes people don't realize quite how much is going on in the church in the UK. And to think of a church in Manchester with 4,000 young people, average age 24 or 25. Yeah, I'm sure before lockdown it was 4,000 plus, and now it's going to be way more than that with all that you've been doing, and all the people joining online and so on. So, and all those Assemblies of God churches around the country where people can come and experience Jesus and be filled with the Spirit. It's real hope that, and I think it's an untold story. People haven't seen what the church is actually doing during lockdown. They haven't seen that, if you need help with cancer, they can ring your church. If you need help if you're homeless, there's a homeless shelter, and all these things. I just hope that people's eyes have been opened to see what the NHS is doing. Yeah. But I hope their eyes will also be opened to see what the church is doing, what you're doing in Manchester and around the country. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us.